Hi, my name is Kalyad Valsaraj, a retired professor of chemical engineering at LSU here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have been in the habit of active bird watching and photography for the past 10 years or more. Louisiana is richly endowed with natural beauty that comprise of subtropical forests, wetlands, the mighty Mississippi River, many bayous, agricultural fields, and a very productive coastline. This also is the flyway for many migratory bird species as well as a large number of native birds. My interest was perked in this area because of the rich avian diversity and the large bird watching community that exists in this area as local branches of the National Audubon Society, American Bird Conservancy, and others. Now, my professional engineering career as a professor and researcher in the area of environmental transport of chemicals and conservation gave me ample opportunities to investigate how anthropogenic chemicals and activities affect the biota, including humans, animals, plants, and birds. That also led me to try and document these effects through my photography ventures. Interestingly, most of these were directly related to the avian populations that showed direct effects of chemical usage. Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, was very influential in my research programs. Thus, bird photography became a hobby of mine as I traveled the world for my research and national and international meetings regarding my research. My training as a scientist and as an engineer gave me ample knowledge to learn the basics of photography, namely the interplay of optics and light. Thus, I'm a completely self-taught photographer. How light interacts with objects and how it interacts with the camera are things I knew from my basic physics and chemistry backgrounds. I started off in 1982 with a basic Minolta XGM single lens reflex camera, film camera. I learned working on photographing objects in the manual mode, keeping in mind the interplay between ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. I played around with various combinations. My chemistry background was helpful in understanding how film is developed in the darkroom, and I played with that one too. Between 1982 and 1996, I switched from my Minolta, which was later bought over by Sony, to a Canon AF1, one of my first real camera. It was a lesson that I undertook to understand how automatic SLRs were coming into play. In 1996, I bought my first Canon Rebel T system. I still had only very few lenses, none of which were telephoto lenses. My bird pictures were subpar and not worthy of display. I was also a novice in bird watching and bird identification at that time. In 2005, I bought my first Canon Rebel T2, then moved to Canon EOS 80D and further to a full-frame Canon D Mark IV. I also had a Tamron 150-600 lens that I started to do bird photography with. This was a heavy lens and camera combination with relatively low image stabilization, and I started to become annoyed with the quality of my pictures. At this time, I started to explore MFT systems, that is micro four thirds systems, that were lighter and had better image stabilization features. That led me to Olympus, now OM Systems brand. Today I use an OM1 Mark II, the latest camera that Olympus has, and several Olympus lenses for bird and wildlife photography. I must say that I'm very happy with the quality of the software that OM has developed for exclusively for bird and wildlife photographers. The glasses are of high quality and weather resistant. They weigh very little, and the excellent image stabilization that Olympus has pioneered makes it possible to avoid tripods in most instances. Thus, bird photography has become an essential aspect of my bird watching hobby. All I carry nowadays is a pair of binoculars, OM Systems cameras, and lenses, all tucked away in a 20-liter Gura Gear bag. Now, bird watching is only useful if one knows how to identify birds in the first place. For that, I took several introductory classes and learn how to use eBird, identify and report birds. It is essential that one tags along with advanced birders if these skills are to be practiced in the field. For me, my scientific research has always been geared towards environmental aspects of chemicals and their effects on various environmental compartments and biota. Thus, environmental conservation has been a running theme in my research. To this day, I have focused even more on identifying birds and tying their relationships to chemicals in the environment and their habitats. I like to emphasize both successes and failures in these aspects of the photographic documentation. I call myself an environmental photographer, although my portfolio does not span landscape photography as much as bird photography. Now, as a hobbyist photographer, starting off as a novice, I've now progressed to a place where I would say I'm a semi-professional, that I can identify birds and also photograph them in various locations. I've gone birding in all parts of the world now, and I'm still planning to do more so that I can bring these things to you, my audience. And so, this is the first of many videos that I would produce, essentially explaining what differences exist between a hobbyist and a professional photographer. So, stay tuned for more later. Thanks.